Welcome to Foot Lane Shoes. In this episode, we'll be learning how to transfer our pattern to our leather in preparation for a loafers shoe. So just follow me as I go through the process. So what we are going to do at this point is to mark out the pattern on the back side of the leather. So I have my patterns marked out on the leather already, and if you do remember that I said we are going to flip to the other side when we want to do for both legs. So that is what I've done on the back side of this leather. So what I'll do next is to start cutting. Okay, so I'm cutting everything that I've marked out here. I'm cutting them out. Now we are done cutting the leather out. So this is what we have. So the next thing for us to do at this point is to gum the leather and the lining together. Okay, so now I'm done marking it out on the lining, so you can all see. So the next thing to do now is to apply my gum on where I've marked. So I'm done applying gum on the lining. So the next line of action is to apply gum on the leather as well. Please note that we are applying gum on the back side of the leather and lining. Okay, so now we are done with gum application. So the next thing for us to do is to start gumming them together. So we are done gumming them together. So the next thing is to use your mallets. We are done malleting. So the next thing is we cut it out. Okay, so now we are done with the cutting. So the next thing for us to do is to bring back the pattern that we developed initially and place them on the cut out leather so that we can transfer the holes on the leather. So the first thing to do is to mark out the dots through the holes on the pattern. So I'm done with the marking on the leather. So the next thing for me to do is to start to punch on the dots. To start to punch on the dots. Okay, so we are done punching. So the next thing for us to do is to stitch. Our stitching should start from the vamp side. You can see here we punch from this point to this point, but we need to stitch it, use our machine to stitch it to this point. Then we do the same to the second one. So after then, we can now place this on the last. We place it on the last so that we'll be able to know at what point we need to stitch it at the back. You can see the way I positioned it, so it has to be a bit firm on your last so that we know at what point we are going to get it stitched. So I've marked it out, you can see. So I need to also transfer this marking to the other leather. So you can just do it this way. Place it side by side, okay, so that you can easily transfer the marking as well. So once this is achieved, you can just use your pattern. You can use your pattern to give it that curve at the back. You can see. So you do the same thing to the other one. So after this is done, so the next thing for you to do is you need to apply gum at the tip here, on this side and on this side. But note that the gum is coming on the lining, not on the face of the leather. So you can see the way I'm applying the gum. So you do the same thing. Okay, so I'm done with the gumming. So we now join them together equally. So the same thing. Okay, so I've joined the materials together. So the next thing for us to do is to sew on the line. We sew on the line and we also sew this. So we are done with the stitching. Okay, you can see. So the next thing for us to do is to cut it out. But please, you are not cutting on the stitches. You are not cutting on the stitches, but you can take it close to it, like what I'm doing here. Okay, so you repeat the same thing for the second one as well. So we are done cutting. We are going to flatten it. So the next thing at this point is to gum our back strap to the back side of the leather. So what we are going to do now is to apply gum on both before we finally gum them together. So now I am done with gum application on the back of the back strap and the back of the leather. So both are dried now. So the next thing for me to do is to fix them together. Okay. So now it has been fixed together. So the next thing we are going to do now is to stitch it from this point down. Then we also do it from this point down. We are also going to do the same thing on the second leg as well. So okay, so what we are going to do next is, because we need to tape it. So you just need to measure in centimeter to the middle of the back side. So for my measurement here, I'm having 15.5. So which means if I'll be cutting it out on the leather, if I'll be cutting the taping, I'll cut 31. So meanwhile, my taping will cover 2 holes. It's going to cover 2 holes that I punched. And when it's covering 2 holes, please kindly mark it at the back. On the lining side, mark it. So the next thing for you to do is, you mark it on both sides, then you apply your gum to the tip all around. Okay, so what you are using to tape it, the dimension I have here is, I have 31 by 3.2 centimeter. So depending on your own measurement there, okay, so I've applied my gum to the tip here. I also applied my gum to the face of the leather I'm using to tape it. So the gum is dry already. So I'm done gumming. The next thing for me is to stitch it. I'm stitching from here to this side. So now we are done stitching. So the next thing for us to do is to apply gum on this side, then we also apply gum on this side as well, so that we can finally flip it and stitch them together. Okay, so I'll start with gum application now. Okay, so now I'm done with the gum application. So, and the gum is dried already. So what I'll need to do next is, I'll need to start flipping it to the other side, so that they both gum together. You can all see what I'm doing. Okay, so you do it gently. So finally, you will need to stitch it. You take your machine from this point, stitch it till you get to this point, and you are fine, before you finally stitch this one to this one, before you will now last. So we meet at the next episode.